Welcome back to G Money Sports College Football Show Week 8. Here again with Ben Wolf, the man, Wulfy. We both went through some transformations over the last week. I trimmed my beard up and got a perm, and Wulfy has a mustache now.
I do.
So we'll see how this new change will affect our gambling this week. Hopefully it's a positive change.
Hopefully. Because we got 14
That's a look. It definitely was in the negative, though. Wasn't a great week for me, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I like this week a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get right into the games for this weekend. First game, our game of the week, Oklahoma State at Iowa State. Iowa State is -7. Over-under is 46.5. Iowa State played really well last week against Kansas State. Oklahoma State had a big win against Texas. So both big wins going into this week. ISU's 7-point favorites at home versus the number 8 team in the country. I feel like the entire country is going to be on Oklahoma State to cover. So for that reason, I like Iowa State to cover, and I also like the over 46.5. I think both these teams will put up points. 46.5 basically is saying like under 30 each, so I think that's pretty doable for both these teams. So I like Iowa State in the over. What do you like in this game?
I think the over is a really good pick. I don't think this game has ever hit the under at any point throughout our time at Iowa State. I remember our freshman year, it was 35-28, and Brock Purdy threw 3 interceptions late in the game.
Yeah, I do remember that game.
Yeah, that was a rough one. But, even when Iowa State put on their worst performance against them, it was only a 7-point loss. So I really like Iowa State's progress. I think they're a really, really, really good team. They've just had a couple bad losses down the stretch, and it's been a tough season.
Yeah, Iowa State always struggles out of the gates, so getting Iowa early kind of sucked. Again, it's one of those games, after watching the Purdue game, I feel like if we could, I say this every year, but if we could play them week 7 or 8, I think we'd beat them more times than not.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunate to play them week 2 every single year.
And
they're always ready to go. Kirk Ferentz just does a good job with that. Oklahoma State, they're undefeated, obviously. Their training schedule hasn't been that tough yet.
Their two best wins is Texas, and they beat Baylor. Baylor's not that good.
No, I don't think Baylor's I think we just weren't ready for Baylor, if I'm being honest. I think we're both on Iowa State -7. I'm playing the over as well. Moving on to the Pac-12 game of the week, Oregon at UCLA. UCLA is 1.5-point favorites. The over-under is 60.5. I really like UCLA in this spot. I watched Oregon play last Friday night. They did not look good at all. I had them to cover, and from the second the game started, I knew they weren't going to cover.
Mm-hmm.
I originally thought C.J. Verdell, their stud running back, is out for the year. I thought that within that offense they could just plug next guy in, but clearly not the case. He made a huge impact, and the team was completely different last week. Mm-hmm. So UCLA obviously had stepped up this year and played a lot better than they're used to as a program. At home, this is probably their game of the year against a perennial Pac-12 power. I think this is Chip Kelly prove-it game. It's a revenge game, Chip Kelly, going back to playing Oregon. So I'm pretty confident about UCLA -1.5. How do you feel about this one?
UCLA a lot. Their offense is a powerhouse. You remove that Ohio State win from Oregon, you'd be looking at this team in a totally different way.
Right. That was a big win, so it kind of sticks me through the rest of the year. But yeah, I think
they had a really bad loss against Stanford too. I think Oregon. I think from the outside looking in, I think a lot of people are pretty high on Oregon. I'm personally not. I think they're probably I like Oregon State better than them. I like UCLA better than them. I love UCLA in this 1.5-point cover, especially at home.
Yeah.
Offense is electric. Chip Kelly, as you said before, has brought forth a really, really, really talented team this year. I love UCLA.
All right, moving on to next one. SEC matchup, LSU at Ole Miss. Ole Miss is 8.5-point favorites. Over under 76.5. LSU coming off their best win of the year against Florida. Ole Miss coming off a huge win at Tennessee at Rocky Top at night. Obviously, the whole fan debacle at the end of the game was pretty crazy. So I'll let you go first on this one. What do you think about this game?
I'm taking LSU to cover just because I think it's going to be a close game. I think LSU, down the stretch, is going to be playing good. That 21-point loss to Kentucky, I think is just a testament of how, good, Kentucky is this year. Kentucky actually looked pretty good against Georgia this past weekend. They covered. That's as good as you're going to look against Georgia, too. So, I don't love it. I just like LSU playing down the stretch, especially with Coach O, being out the door. I feel like they'll just have a good, couple slew of games. And I think they'll cover. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a game that Ole Miss wins.
Close.
Yeah, and I know you kind of have a difference of an opinion on this one. But yeah, I don't know. What's your take?
So my take on this game, I really like Lane Kiffin this year. I think he's put together a really good team. Ole Miss. He has the team fired up. He's just the guy you want to play for, fiery guy. And also, I really love their quarterback, Matt Corral. I think there's a really good chance he wins the Heisman. And I think this is his game to put a stamp on the Heisman. You look back on almost every Heisman winner, and they have that game. I'm kind of picking my shot here and saying LSU at home is going to be his game. He's going to throw for 5-6 touchdowns. I see a route coming, personally. I know you think the team might play well for Coach O. I don't know. Rumors I've heard from coming out of Baton Rouge is the team's kind of he's done a lot of questionable things with bringing the females around to practice.
Oh, yeah, no, without a doubt. But, the team has to have, already known about that, even going into the Florida game.
Yeah. I just think it's more of a testament of Florida isn't as good as we thought they were this year.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason everyone had high expectations for them was because of the Alabama game where they played them close. I think Alabama's also taking a step back this year. It was early. Bryce Young is a freshman, so early freshman. That was his first true road game at Florida in the SEC competition. So I think he just kind of struggled in that game a little bit. So it made him look better than they actually are. LSU at home is also a different beast than LSU on the road. Obviously, Tiger Stadium's crazy in LSU, so playing away from home, I don't think it's going to translate as well. I also think Ole Miss puts up a shit ton of points, 50 plus. LSU's defense isn't that good. LSU puts up 50, or Ole Miss puts up 50. I don't know if LSU is putting up 40. I don't think they can match that.
I do really like their running back, something Davis. He's had 250 rushing yards these past 2 weeks. And I think it's just kind of showed why LSU has been playing so well these past couple weeks post the Kentucky game. But no, you're bringing up all valid points, and I think it just goes to show how fun the SEC is this year and of how much fun it is to gamble on because you have games like Ole Miss, Arkansas, and then you have games like Texas A&M beating Alabama. So it should be. I think it should be a really, really fun game to just kind of wait and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on to the ACC game of the week, Clemson at Pitt. Pitt is 3.5-point favorites. Over under is 47.5. I love Pitt in this spot. I've been pretty high on them all year with their quarterback coming back, Kenny Pickett. He's just been balling out. Very quietly, Pitt's been the best team in the ACC all year. Obviously, we've all seen Clemson struggles all year. Every week you kind of wait for DJ to turn it up, and he hasn't. It's kind of starting to get to that point where people are thinking, is he the guy? Are you sure this is the guy that's going to be the next iteration? Also, Clemson, if you think about it, they've had 2 really good runs with really good quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence. And they've had some NFL talent around that, but the defense hasn't been to where it was when they were just coming up. Also, their offensive line hasn't played very well. I think they get out recruited in the southern area by those SEC schools on offensive linemen, like by Alabama and Georgia and those kind of schools. So I don't think they're getting the offensive line talent to maintain an offense. They lost ETN, which was a much bigger loss than a lot of people anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Ross, the receiver, was banged up last week. I don't know if he's playing. I just don't think their offense at all, honestly, and I don't think their defense. Their defense is okay. They're still.
It's not a bad defense.
Yeah, and I think Pitt might have the best offense in the ACC. Like I said, I really like Pickett. I think he's really good quarterback. So I will take Pitt at home -3.5.
Originally had Clemson, but I think I'm actually gonna switch my pick to Pitt. Because I think I've just been so tainted by watching Notre Dame games and watching them just get their shit pumped in by Clemson every single time they play them. And, because Notre Dame plays 8 ACC games a year, but they're still not technically in the conference. No, I think I'm just so tainted. Why I originally picked this was I saw Pitt, Notre Dame even beat them, and I feel like Clemson should be able to handle them. But I'm actually going to ride with you on this one and switch over to Pitt. The passing game looked really good for Pitt against Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame has a really, really, really good team this year, too. I know we're going to be talking about them later, too. But no, Clemson just isn't that good this year.
Down year for the program.
Yeah, they look like. Wake Forest looks better than them. NC State looks better than them.
Yeah.
Pitt looks better than them.
NC State beat them at their place. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to switch my pick to Pitt and just ride with that.
Sounds good. Moving into our last game, we're going to go in depth about USC at Notre Dame. Notre Dame 6.5 point favorites. Over under 57.5. Sorry. For me, I just think USC is awful. Firing your coach after week 2 kind of tells you all you need to know about where the program is right now. Like you said, I like Jack Cohn at Notre Dame. I think they have a pretty decent team. It's not like the CFP teams we've seen in the past, but they're a step below that. USC is not even close to where Notre Dame is right now. 6.5 under a touchdown.
Is it at the Coliseum?
No, it's at Notre Dame. I don't see any reason to say USC. I saw an interview today on Instagram of the USC running back, and one of the announcers it's gonna be pretty cold up there in Indiana, and he asked him how cold is it gonna be? And it's forecasted 40 degrees, and you could tell he was like, oh shit.
Right.
I've never left Southern Cal in my life. So anytime a Cal team like that goes north, goes in the weather, you see it with Texas going into Iowa State in November. It's just they never play well. So that's just another reason to take Notre Dame here.
I'm taking Notre Dame as well too. This USC team, they suck. Their quarterback play has been so bad. I was pretty high on them coming into this year, coming off the Pac-12 loss. It was a close game. I can't remember who they played off the top of my head. Do you remember? Who's in the Pac-12? It was Oregon, right? USC? Yeah, it was Oregon. Oregon USC. Yeah, it was Oregon USC. Yeah.
About USC earlier. That's what you're referring to.
Well, no, I'm referring to the Pac-12 championship.
Oh yeah, it was Oregon USC.
And that was a close game, so I was high on USC going into this year because their quarterback Stover or whatever was returning, and I thought he might be able to turn it around. But I was they just look so terrible. They look, as you said before, they couldn't stop the run against. I love Notre Dame. And I think Notre Dame is a very similar talent to Iowa State level right now. I think they're gonna be, when it's all said and done, be a top 15, top fringe top 10 team. They have a lot of NFL talent on that team. While USC, it doesn't look like they have any NFL talent on that team.
Yep, for sure. Notre Dame then.
Yep.
Roll Irish. All right, so we're gonna go. We're starting to go a little bit shorter on the games we're gonna feature, just trying to cut down on the video time here. So we're gonna get right into our cards. I will start. UCF plus 2.5 versus Memphis tomorrow night on Friday night. Utah State plus 2.5 against Colorado State. Arizona plus 17.5 against Washington. Plus over at 46.5. All three of those games are Friday night games. All three of them are home dogs. And if you've been watching any Friday night football, home dogs have been covering almost every single time, if not winning outright.
Mm-hmm.
I've picked against them a lot just because I thought the teams have been better than they played, and it's burned me a lot. So this week I decided to go all three home dogs, and I feel pretty good about those. And plus Arizona Washington over 46.5. If you're gonna give me a Pac-12 matchup with an over/under at 46.5, I'm gonna take that over. Moving on, Michigan minus 23.5 against Northwestern. This is gonna be lock one of the weekend. I just think Northwestern, when they went to Nebraska, gave up 56 points, and it was almost all on the ground. Adrian Martinez, Nebraska's quarterback, had just over 200 yards passing. Just got ravaged on the run. Michigan runs the ball even better than Nebraska. At the big house, Northwestern has looked good all year. So Michigan minus 23.5 is my lock. Part one, I have three coming, so for those. I have the over as well. I think Michigan's going to put up at least 45 points. I think Northwestern gets at least a touchdown to get that over. Then I have Wake Forest minus 3.5 against Army. Like we were talking about earlier, Wake's one of the best teams in the ACC this year. I see them keeping that going. Kansas State plus a half point versus Texas Tech. Kansas State's had one of the hardest schedules in the Big 12 so far. Not even one of the hardest. They've played Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Iowa State. Three teams that will probably finish the year as the top three Big 12 teams. I think they bounced back. They're getting Skylar Thompson back, their quarterback who started the year when they beat Stanford. He's really good. Kansas State plus a half. Texas Tech is not that great of a team. They're bottom tier of the Big 12. Virginia Tech minus 3.5 for Syracuse. Syracuse home on the road is a big difference. So I take Virginia Tech minus 3.5 at home. Purdue plus 3.5 versus Wisconsin. Purdue's coming off a big win against Iowa, obviously. Wisconsin's offense is just terrible. I don't think they keep pace. The Purdue passing game is actually pretty good this year. I also like the plus over 40.5 in that game. That's just really low for me. Wisconsin's defense hasn't been that good all year, so I really don't see that happening. Iowa State minus 7, like we talked about, and the over 46.5. I have Minnesota minus 4.5 versus Maryland. Minnesota had a big win last week. I think they keep the momentum rolling. Like PJ Fleck as a coach, he's a big momentum coach. Tanner Morgan's a really good quarterback. Like that. Ball State minus 4.5 versus Miami, Ohio. It's a MAC game. I love Ball State. I've been betting on them the last couple of weeks. Cal minus 8.5 versus Colorado. Colorado beat the brakes off a team last week, but they're not a good team. Don't let it fool you. California's been playing well all year. Oregon, Ole Miss minus 8.5 versus LSU. This is part 2 of my locks. This is my afternoon lock. Love Ole Miss in this spot. Like I said, Matt Corral calling my shot. It's going to be his Heisman game. UCLA minus 1.5 versus Oregon. Pitt minus 3.5 versus Clemson. Houston minus 13.5 versus ECU. ECU is one of the worst teams in Division I football. Houston has hidden their stride the last couple of weeks. I have Liberty minus 21.5 versus North Texas. North Texas, same reason as the last game. One of the worst teams in college football. Liberty has an explosive offense. I think they cover pretty easily. NC State minus 3.5 versus Miami of Florida. Miami is very bad. NC State has been sneaking up on teams all year. I think that at home they cover that pretty easily. Indiana got plus 21.5 versus Ohio State at home. Last year, Indiana should have beat Ohio State at Ohio State. It's a night game at Indiana. I think Tom Allen gets his boys up enough to cover the spread. I do think Ohio State has hit their stride recently, but I think Indiana can keep it close. And I love the over 58.5. Consider that making that my lock, but stayed off. Oregon State plus 2.5 versus Utah. And this is part 3 of my locks. This is going to be my night lock. TCU minus 4.5 versus West Virginia. TCU started off the season slowly. They had a tough game against SMU where they almost won. They beat Cal, who we found out is a pretty good Pac-12 team this year. They beat the brakes off Texas Tech last week, just destroyed them. I think they're finally hitting their stride. Preseason, I like them a lot. One of my favorite teams coming into the year in the Big 12. My dark horse Big 12 pick. I think they're finally getting their momentum. West Virginia they're in the Texas Tech category where Kansas is the worst by far, and you got Texas Tech and West Virginia, I think, in that bottom tier. They haven't played anyone good this year. They just lost to Texas Tech, who TCU destroyed. 4.5 at home, night game. I think that's way too close of a spread. So TCU is my third part of my locks. I got Texas A&M minus 19.5 for South Carolina. They've picked up their offense, and South Carolina is really bad. Notre Dame minus 6.5 versus USC. Then finishing up in Hawaii, got Hawaii minus 18.5 versus New Mexico State. Mexico State's been really, really bad this year. And I think Hawaii at home, we've talked about this every week, travel factor, especially for a bad team like New Mexico State. They probably won't travel all to Hawaii. So those are my picks for the week. Hopefully it goes better than last week. I actually feel pretty good about this sheet. My 3 locks, I feel very good about. I don't usually do multiple locks, but I don't know. I really like this board this week, so I figured I'd give it a shot. Wulfy, I'll let you go up next.
All right. So, for Friday night, I'm actually taking an away team this week with Memphis at 2.5. I've been actually riding Memphis all year, and they've been paying out pretty well for me. I think they are a legitimately pretty good team this year. I know that's doesn't sound super emphatic, but I've been watching USF a lot this year with Gus Malzahn, just because they're coming over to the Big 12, and I just haven't been super high on them. I don't know. I don't like UCF too much, and I've just been riding a lot with Memphis these past couple weeks. So I think it's just a formula for a good pick this week. And then Michigan and Northwestern, as you said before, Michigan's run attack is really good this year. Michigan overall as a team is just really, really, really good, and Northwestern is just really, really, really bad. And we talk about this every single week of how I like, or at least I do, of how I think Northwestern was going to be better this year. But I'm just officially just completely sold on Michigan and completely sold on Northwestern being terrible. And then Penn State against Illinois. Illinois is just another really bad team. This is another really big spread one, and I really like Penn State here. Penn State has a really, really good defense, and I think James Franklin is a really, really, really good coach. I know he's been getting looked at for USC, but I don't think he'll ever take that position because Penn State is, the same degree. And then Wake Forest Army. I know you took Wake Forest here. I'm actually taking Army. I've been taking Army a lot this year. Army just has a really, really, really good defense. Plays time of possession, and I don't think Wake Forest has ever seen a team like this yet this year. And I think this is honestly probably the best team. Did Wake Forest play Clemson?
No, they haven't played Clemson yet.
I think they played NC State though. But I think this might be Wake Forest's best team that they've played this year. And I mean, I really, really, really like Army in this position. Just a team that will just ground and pound you and take time of possession away. While Wake Forest is a really, really talented ACC team this year, but I don't think they've ever seen a test like this. And then hopping into Oklahoma, Kansas. I'm actually taking Kansas to cover on this one. I don't know why I'm doing that. I know 2 years ago, Kansas only lost to Oklahoma by 10. I was looking at previous games. There's not been there's only been one game where Oklahoma did cover a 39-point spread. Obviously, Oklahoma's coming out motivated with Caleb Williams. I feel like Caleb Williams is like even like a borderline Heisman finalist, considering that he's.
I don't think that after you only played half the season. There's no way he's winning the Heisman.
I don't think he's going to win the Heisman. That's why I'm saying borderline Heisman finalist.
I don't think he can be a finalist.
I don't. He's
you got to play at least 9 games to be in the Heisman talk.
You think so?
There's no way he's played like 5 games. He's only started 2 now.
Mm-hmm.
They only have 5 left.
Mm-hmm. And then bowl game, and then Big 12 championship.
Heisman's before that.
Well, no, I'm just. All I'm saying is like if you put him in at week 1.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. I don't think this season he could be a contender.
I think well like that's why I'm making the argument that I think he's just going to be a fringe Heisman vote this year just because there's no anyways yeah and then I also have Kansas State and Texas Tech. I'm taking Texas Tech for no good reason. Some weeks Texas Tech comes out and they look like a top 25 team. And I know Kansas State has had a rough schedule this year, but I really like Texas offense this year rolling into this weekend. And then UCLA, Oregon. Oh, geez, I'm bouncing all over the place here. UCLA, Oregon here. I'm obviously taking UCLA with that powerhouse offense. LSU, I'm going to be taking LSU versus Ole Miss as well. I like LSU a lot and Coach O, and I think they're going to be playing well down the stretch. Pitt versus Clemson. I'm taking Pitt. Just because I feel like Clemson is a totally different team this year, and Pitt's offense looks really, really good. I'm also taking Purdue, coming off that big win against Iowa. They actually look pretty good this year, and I really underestimated them. Do you remember who San Diego plays this week? I wrote them down. San Diego against Air Force. I really like San Diego to cover. San Diego's been a really, really good non-Power 5 team. Yep, San Diego State, sorry. Has been a really good non-Power 5 team this year. They've been a fringe top 25 team. I like Indiana to cover against Ohio State, too. It's a really big spread. I had it at 19.5. What was yours?
21.5.
21.5. Okay. And I don't think Ohio State's going to cover that. And I think Indiana's a relatively decent team to cover that spread. And then Texas A&M. Do you remember Texas A&M played?
They were playing North Carolina.
That's like a 23-point spread too as well.
I thought
19.5. Okay. Just another big spread game, and I think Texas A&M is going to come in and beat the shit out of them. USC Notre Dame. Notre Dame is really good this year, and I don't think USC is good at all. And then California against. Hit me with me one more time.
They play Colorado.
Colorado really bad this year. And I know you said California's been really good this year too. I know
they've been really good, but
they've covered.
Played well.
And then I watched the Minnesota Colorado game, and Colorado didn't even. I think that final score was 41-10. And Minnesota's not that great of a team either. And then my lock of the week, I'm doing BYU against Washington State. I know BYU has kind of struggled down the stretch here, but I don't think Washington State's that good. And I think BYU has a pretty good team this year, all things considered, of just losing those couple games these past couple weeks. But no, I really like BYU as my lock. I also like Mississippi State with a big cover as well. I'm going to take Fresno off. I also like TCU as well. They've been playing really well down the stretch. Like their last loss was against, was it I really like TCU this year. Hawaii, obviously, same thing you said about traveling. Also, really like Oregon State this week against Utah. I don't. I mean, I know Utah gave it to Arizona State this past week, but we've both liked Oregon State this entire year. And then also my final pick here. This is also I have two locks this week as well. Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's just so terrible, and I do think I know you're not as high on Mike Leach in the SEC. I do think Mike Leach is going to be successful in the SEC, and I really do like him to cover in this game. Sorry, I jumped around a little there, but yeah, those are my picks this week.
All right. Tune in next week. We'll be back. Thanks a lot.